had a really interesting question about Fathom as an alternative to Google Analytics. What did you realize about Fathom?
So, and I'll have to remember back on it, but so the question came up with me. So what, when I do my Google Business Profile Management, I always access Google Analytics because I want to see specifically how they're doing. I do the UTM codes and everything. So I had someone that I was talking to about possibly doing some clients a management for them, and they said, well, and I mentioned Google Business Profile and or Google Analytics, and she said, oh, well, we use Fathom. And although I've heard of it, I've never used it before. So first thing I'm like, well, can I even do UTM codes with Fathom? And what do the reports look like? Because I go into Google Analytics and I set my reports up. I go to Google Search Console, all that stuff. So I actually went to Fathom, did a little bit of research. You can do UTM codes. They have I can't remember exactly if it's any different than how Google does them, but there's a way you can go in and set up your UTM codes and tags or whatever you call it. And so then my next question is, okay, what does it look like? And so I'm used to looking in Google Analytics, and like if you've got your goals set up properly and you can look and see like, okay, someone clicked on the Google Business Profile, your URL or your appointment, and how many clicks directly there, how many of them actually were goal completions. And if you have dollars assigned with that, you can see how much dollars that was. So that's good for Google Analytics. Fathom doesn't give that because they consider that to be the private data. So you're getting like lump sum numbers. They said that there was a way to put in a goal, and I was a little confused about it. So, there was a way, but they said that it's, I can't remember what exactly it was, but that was kind of thing when they showed me they said, it's a more simplified approach and easier to look at. However, it's because of the privacy that they have on it, you're not getting the data that we're used to looking at and seeing. I think that's kind of a summary of it.
Interesting. Yeah,
what are your thoughts, Dave?
Yeah, because like for me, the goal is the real important piece of information. Everything else up to the goal, if it doesn't end in a goal, when I say goal, I mean something that generates income for the client. Mm-hmm. That could be a lead, that could be a completed shopping cart, it's something like that. If you can't track that, we're just relying on false metrics to gauge our success.
Yeah.
And so we're not doing great. Now you could, you could still set up a goal. Pardon me. You could still say, okay, watch how many people are coming to a particular page on your website that is the confirmation page of your website. Mm-hmm. And not having looked at Fathom, I don't know if you can then say, well, how many people from organic search ended on this page? How many people from paid search or whatever, or Google My Business for that matter. But that suggests to me that either Fathom isn't quite ready for use, or they're so concerned with privacy, they are actually not rendering useful data.
Okay.
But I haven't looked in it, so I can't say, right?
Let me, I'll just kind of read up bits because basically it says, I think that it's the fact that they're looking to achieve privacy. So when I asked about the UTM codes, it says, you can see the UTMs, how to filter them and navigate between the source and medium, etc. But they don't have reports. So I'm used to doing a monthly report with my UTMs, and they said they don't have the reports in Fathom because it's more simpler than analytics. And let's see, it says you can see the date, the last month, and see them they have weekly, monthly email reports, but those are the totals and no UTM data is present. And then I asked about more stuff as far as the goals, and they said they don't have data at the level of detail from the Google Analytics screenshot that I sent them and marked some things out of it, mostly because Fathom fundamentally is set up to show data in aggregate to achieve privacy. So to me, if they're saying they're doing it in aggregate to achieve privacy, then they are not showing all the detail that we're used to.
So does Google Analytics. So does Google Analytics. So maybe, so for instance, it is illegal again. It is illegal. It's not illegal. It's against Google Analytics terms of service to associate individually identifying numbers with goals.
Mm-hmm. When you say numbers with goals, well, tell me
information. So you can't say, you can't attribute this person, this is this person's email address, and they completed a goal on this day.
Yeah.
There used to be ways to import that information into Google Analytics.
Ah.
And it is no longer allowed.
Okay.
I mean, there is a way to do it still, but it's not allowed. So you can't have, and so the goal numbers in analytics are aggregated.
Okay.
Now, that's because one of the advantages Google Analytics has in that is the last click attribution. So it's not following the individual through as they visit a page, pages in your web. It's saying this many people visit this page. Of those many people, so many typically visit this. Okay. Of that, and so you don't know, you can't follow a user. One person came here, then there, then there, then there, then there.
Yeah.
So if Fathom is not aggregated in that sense, and they're following individual, you can follow individual people through their website visit track. I could see you not wanting to show a goal data because you know it's that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But analytics by default, and this is universal or GA4, is all aggregated. Yes. So it, again, not knowing how Fathom is calculating things, it sounds like they're either overreacting or they are able to follow an individual as they visit through to the website. And if that's the case, then yeah, having goal completion data would be a privacy violation, because you would see this person who just contacted me, I watched them visit my whole website. I could see their exact path they took before they contacted me or purchased something from me or whatever. And so that's what I'd be curious to know as far as Fathom. And I know everyone's touting Fathom as the Google Analytics replacement. Mm-hmm. So it might be compliant with privacy policies, but if it's not giving us the data we need, it's not useful.
Can I do a screen share? This is like the demo on their page that kind of shows their reporting. That way it can, oops, let me see. No, wrong button. Share screen. This. Okay. Let me know if you can see. Can you see that? Can you see me in my screen? Yes. Okay.
Sorry, I said yes, but I muted.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Okay. So yeah, this is kind of like their demo page that they send people. And so it kind of gives you this stuff. But I like, so it does have events, PDF download.
Mailing list sign up, merch purchase.
Mm-hmm. So they do have those.
They have, so they don't call them goals, but they're call them events. Now that is what GA4 will be doing. They will be calling all of these things events.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's, and even have values associated with that.
Yeah. Here's like the UTM. I like in Google how it's like you have like, you can see the source, campaign, and medium together. You know, like that. I like that how Google Analytics does that.
Select one select like campaign and see if you can select one like the Reddit AMA.
Like,
Click on
oh,
Reddit.
I see.
Okay, so now you're only looking at Reddit AMA.
Okay.
So now you go down. Oh yeah, so yeah, now you're refers. Yeah.
Okay.
And so now you can go to source medium and it'll only be limited to that.
Okay.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can get it there.
The one thing that like, you know, I'm used to setting up all of my monthly reports in Google Analytics, and having that UTM there, you know, with all the stuff, I can just go and say, print that report on this day every month, and it gets done and emailed to me. And that's very useful in Google Analytics. And that's one of the big things that I look at for Google Business Profile. I had a client with some questions this week actually, and I ran a report for a current report in the previous month and was able to show him how much it had gone up, and he was in like no time at all. You know.
Yeah, so you can do that with this, right? So at very top left, you have the filters, right? It says clear filters, but the UTM code.
Yeah.
So all this data is for that campaign. So if you set campaign Google My Business, then you would be able to see for the time period in the upper right, this is all the data for that UTM.
Yeah.
Including event completions, which is what they seem to call goals.
Yeah.
And visitors and views.
So I guess though, like my understanding is like I can't set this report up to run on a single day every month.
Well, I guess not.
Yeah, is what they had said, and that's one of the benefits like that I have with UTM codes on Google.
Well,
and they do.
I wonder if so. Before I used Google Data Studios for reports, which I really love.
Yeah.
I would just once a month put data into a Google Sheet and then create my own graphs and charts.
Ooh, yeah.
That's why I'd use Data Studio.
Yeah.
But the advantage that it had over Data Studio is it forced me to take the time to look at.
Yeah.
And I'd see like, oh my gosh, why is this? And I'd have to take the time to find the why, which is what's missing from my Data Studio reports. So you could still take a little time to create things. I think that I've said this before, quoting my old boss, that clients pay for reports. They want to know that what they're doing is producing money. So it is worth your time and their time to show the value of what they are receiving. And if that has to be manual, now let us all hope we have too many clients where we don't have time to do it manually. And we're making so much money. Well, then we hire someone to help us. But so this does look like it does have that ability. So it's pretty, I mean, if this is the only page of the report, it's pretty bland.
Yeah. And my understanding is like the home page of the report is like what you can run every month. So that was my understanding from the email, that you can run a once a month, or I say once a month, you can set up schedule reports on the dashboard. But then if you want something specific, then you would have to go in and manually do that, I believe.
Yeah, Google Analytics didn't always have the reporting features it does.
Yeah.
And Data Studio does work, you know, at the same time, you might be able to have a Data Studio connector to port this into Data Studio.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, with my lack of understanding of GDPR, if you export data into a Google Sheet and use that to create a report, you have to disclose
Google
that
Sheet,
you have put data. Now, it's not personalized data because this is just a raw number of people, right?
Yeah.
But it is data that's shared.
Yeah.
And it is and it is belong to Google at that point.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you're renting it from Google or however you want to see that.
Yeah. Okay. So it was interesting. I'll stop sharing that, but just interesting to see, because I think we are going to see more people with Fathom. And that was, since I don't do the website build and everything like that, and I focus all my services on Google Business Profile, it's something I may run into more than you all.
Well, we're coming at this. It's what's old is new again. When I got started in this, Google Analytics was not yet universally used.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had some clients, and this is embarrassing. Now it's embarrassing. It was probably embarrassing at that time. We'd have to every first day of the month go to their homepage and look at the number of counters on their homepage.
Oh yeah, those little counter things. Oh my gosh, I remember those.
And that would be, hey, this is how many visits you got.
Whoa.
And, that's
now what if somebody didn't go to their homepage, they went to their About Us page? Would you have a count on each page?
So many things wrong with that. Beyond but I didn't remember, my first job in internet marketing, that was one of my responsibilities, is on the first of every month, go to the page and pull down the counter. Now that's terrible. And nowadays we would never do that or call that reliable. I would feel terrible reporting that number to a client. That would be so misleading, because it doesn't even read out bots.
Yeah.
And speaking of bots, I had a client, and they didn't have analytics. So we installed it and we gave them their first monthly report, and they're like, oh my gosh, we have 10% of traffic we had the previous month.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, wait, you don't have analytics. You didn't have analytics the previous month. How are you saying you have 10% of what you used to have? They were pulling their server log data. You remember those old server log analytics packages in cPanel and stuff?
Mm-mm.
Anyway, they were not distinguishing.
They
were not distinguishing bots from their traffic.
Ah.
So they were including every time the Google crawler came, every time a spam bot came looking for email addresses, every time someone downloaded a CSS file was considered a page view in their mind. In reality, they were way overestimating the amount of traffic because they were so unsophisticated.
Yeah.
So what's old is new again. We might see that people will be diverging away from Google Analytics, but
yeah,
I
think Google's going to do something before that happens.
Well, yeah, they're good. Google has a major financial interest in doing that.
Yeah.
Right. Fathom has a financial interest in them not, because they charge for their services. But Google has a lot of money tied up in that, and it is worth their time to figure this out.
Yeah.
I read something on my morning RSS feed reader thing, since I still use RSS feeds, that said basically Germany has already agreed that one of Google's solutions is acceptable. Which, again, it's on the internet, so we don't even know if to believe it. But here we are. But that suggests that people are actively working the problem and trying to find a solution.
Yeah.
I pretty much will guarantee you by the time GA4 completely rolls out next year, this will be a resolved issue.
Yeah, I think so.
Why would Google be putting all this money and resources in GA4 if no one can use it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we Americans, we're really good about only thinking about the United States. But there is a big world out there full of a lot more people who, Google, and frankly, that's the burgeoning market for Google. They got everything tied up here. What they really need is outside the United States to grow. So they better deal with it, and they're going to. Yeah. So, I've made a list of clients that I'm preparing to possibly move to something like Fathom. And I've even gone to some clients and they're like, we totally don't even care. We're going to keep using Google Analytics. Okay, that's their choice.
Yeah, as long as you've told them, then.
I've told them, and it's their choice. And I even said, hey, Google Analytics might be illegal. I don't know if it's illegal. I'm not a lawyer. It might be. And they said, we don't care. So, okay. but I'm pretty sure it'll be resolved. So
yeah. So yeah, but it's interesting because that's Fathom is the one that I've really seen as a lot of people going to as the alternative. So interesting to see that, and I think that I'll probably be learning a little bit more about it in the future as I have clients that are using it. So
I'm thinking about installing it on a couple sites just to play with it.
Yeah.
And I'm might use it concurrently.
Yeah. This was just the first time I had somebody say, oh, this site has Fathom, and that I would need to do that to do reports. So,
well, I was kind of struggling with this too, because I'm trying to keep Curious Ants focusing on free tools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't want someone who uses Curious Ants to have to pay for this and then this. Okay, Fathom is not that expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can't use Google Analytics, it's valuable.
Yes.
To get it, but I'm pretty confident I will keep using Google Analytics and Curious Ants, if only because it's a free option.
Yeah.
There may be other free options we might have to move to, but yeah.
Okay.
But I'm glad you were looking at that. That's really interesting. And
yeah, and I did look. They do have a link to their UTM builder. So there's like a thing. They've got a builder and everything too for it. So yeah. Which is
it makes sense that they'd use the same parameters in the URLs just to make life a little easier. It's almost becoming a standard.
Yeah,